Welcome back, everybody, to day 2. I'm James O'Leary, joined by Stuart for Control versus Team Dark. And is this going to be the moment where we have a 2-1? Stuart, I want you to put your entire analyst reputation on the line. Just it's a yes or no. 2-1 on this series, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. That's what I like to hear. That is exactly what I want to hear. We're going to be casting the games. We're going to be getting into the first game very, very shortly. But before we get there, I want to hear what Carmeline has for her points of the game.
So, first of all, thank you for giving me the water right now. I really wanted to talk. I haven't been talking for like 5 minutes. That's way too long. So let's just start with the first point. Riders need to swap in teams. Is this shady? No, it isn't. He used to play for Team Dark, and now he doesn't do that anymore. That's part of the game, you know. Sometimes you change teams. Will there be some beef between them? We have yet to see. But I mean, there are so many things to talk about. Like, think of Ellie, for example, right? The top laner for Team Dark. Nox and Guillotine, if you're not familiar with the game, that's Darius' ultimate. And also, Darius is the favorite champion for Elegy. He plays it every time he can because he usually gets banned, suspect that as well. And I also say, like, give him the chance to play the champion, you know, like, what, counter him, whatever. Fiora, for example, I don't know, you decided, you're the team, not me. And finally, of course, we gotta talk about controls, KTRLs in short. Rework. What does that even mean? Well, it means that they essentially changed the entire roster. They only kept one of the players. So we'll see how that works for them because, oh no, maybe with the new roster things gonna go well. Maybe they go well. I don't know. We'll have to see again in games. I'll leave you to it. No casting this one.
Not casting this one. Peace out. Thanks, Caroline. I mean, we talk about Control. Stuart, you've played a little bit with the members of Control, at least some of them. So let's take a look at the rosters and you can fill in the players, perhaps the people are less familiar with at home.
Yeah, I mean, for people who don't know, I used to play with Komoto actually in the Origin series last year as well. We did get into the top 8, so that's kind of my my high moment that I can say on broadcast. I say that I have been a top 8 player. So yeah, you got E-Man as well, who I know very well. Ryder Zito, which Carmeline spoke about. Ferox and Jash on the side of Control. And in Team Dark, we know these players as well. Elegi, Sync, is it Chingsi, Mario,
Chingsi,
and Juicy? Yeah, Chingsi, Mario, and Juicy. So we know some of the members of Team Dark, but Control, we don't really know too much about. I mean, some of the players I might know about personally, but for everyone at home might not know too much about. Team Dark are a bit more of a familiar team. We saw them a bit in a few of the community tournaments. One
player that those of you that have played a lot of ranked and you know, in client, when you pick a champion, you go to build, do your builds. One player that you might recognize a lot, E-Man of Joy on the ladder, I believe, right, Stuart? Every single time I would go into a champion in like October, November, December, top rated build would always be E-Man's build. And I would try it and sometimes it would be trash. I'm totally blaming it's the build. It's not me. It's definitely not me in solo queue, but a couple of familiar names, hopefully some that we'll learn as we go through. This really is, and I'm hoping we're not putting ourselves out there too much. I think this is the first series that really is closely contested. I think every other one we've been like, okay, it should be heavily favored in one way. Very much looking forward to see where the picks and bans end up here because we just came off Formulation, who in my mind have a very specific playstyle, even though they will say a little differently. This time we actually don't have too much to go on for Control or Team Dark. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these big priority picks are going to be.
100%. I think Carmen spoke about it very briefly, but the Darius I think is going to be a high priority for both of these teams. Elegi loves to play this champion Darius and at the moment as well, with all the nerfs as well to the other AD bruisers like Set and Jace. I think he'll definitely be a huge priority. But like you said, you know, this hopefully will be the game that will be really close, and it is a very split community as well. You've seen the predictions online as well on social media, the predictions with the talent as well. It's either some are Team Dark and some are Control, and this is what makes this series so exciting.
It does. Control putting me at the top of their caster tier list gets extra points. I'm going to always vote for Control. I saw you down in like B tiers too. Don't worry. It's because you predicted Team Dark. Lee Sin off the board. Sync is not going to get that for the first pick. I like blue side Lee Sin ban. I think it's good. Like I'll consistently say this for as long as Lee Sin's in the meta. Rarely is he first pick worthy, but he's almost always first rotation red side worthy. Like gives you a really strong basis to play from. Now we get to see red side bans. Have to imagine it's going to be the likes of the Fiora, the Darius, the Garen, the Camille. They're all good options for red side ban.
100%. Yeah, like you said, Lee Sin not really worthy of a first pick rotation for the blue side, because most of the time you want to pick them AD bruisers are a lot stronger, like say Jace, Fiora, Camille, but most of the time you'll see on the other side as well. And Sync we've seen play Lee Sin as well, and he is a very, very strong champion as we wait for the second ban, as it's the time's run out, so hopefully Team Dark haven't missed out on a ban here. We'll have to wait and find out for that one. But yeah, Lee Sin not really someone. Oh, there you go. There is a Fiora ban as well. I think Fiora is probably, I would say, one of the best, if not like the best Baron laners now, because of all the nerfs to all the other champions. So obviously can be played in the jungle as well, so that flex pick not going over to the side of control.
I totally agree. Like, she's theoretically one of those champions that should be late game, but her early game is so good that you give her any kind of advantage and she'll just walk away with the game. Diana taken away from this lineup on the side of control. Want to try and reduce some of that team fighting. That is a Zed red side ban. Ryder Zito, I don't, like, at least he's not one of the Zed players that comes to mind for like banning red side immediately in my mind. This is a weird one from Dark.
I think it's actually quite clever from Team Dark, because Team Dark are saying kind of what Mood Gaming did in the first game of the previous series. They're like, okay, are you going to ban Set? Are you going to ban Jace? Are we going to ban it instead? They're kind of like saying, okay, normally you see a lot of Set and Jace banned on the red side, but instead now they're not banning any of them. But now Control are like, okay, we don't want to first pick Set. Are you going to ban Jace? Are we going to pick it? And instead they ban the Jax, and that is going to be a first pick Jace, but quickly followed up by a Morgana, which will most likely, we know Morgana now, most likely in the dual lane, probably won't be seen in the support or the mid lane. And a Kha'Zix first rotation as well. That's a very, very ballsy pick for Sync.
Yeah, this draft is very different, and what I want to quantify a few things, especially around the Zed and around the Kha'Zix when we talk about this. Like, comparing it to the way that the other teams are drafting in the meta, these are far higher priority in this draft than they ever have been in other picks and bans. Like, Garen finds its way through. Garen is just going to tank up that entire Kha'Zix damage, and Morgana takes a while to take out Garen as well. So with Jace, with Garen, really strong bruiser setup for the side of Control already.
Yeah, I'm really liking Control's team at the moment. You know, you already said you got the AD bruisers, you got the Jace with the poke and can also go into melee range. You got the frontline tank of the Garen as well. You got Thresh, and there it is. You don't ban Elegi's Darius, he's going to pick it, and he does pick up the Darius in the end. Obviously can be flexed around, can maybe go into mid lane as well, but most likely will go into the top lane on the side of Elegi as well. And
we heard Peterson talk about this is one of the potential matchups that Garen can struggle in, is the Darius matchup. And now you're playing against a Darius main. So this is one of these opportunities where we're expecting to see it. Quickly to round out second ban phase is Ziggs banned already, Rakan banned to try and take out some of that engaged threat from the side of Team Dark. Varus taken out as one of those bot lane picks. Where have we got? We got Orianna left, Brand left, Morgana's already taken. Corki would be the other one that comes to mind for Control potentially to look at picking.
Yeah, interesting enough, Team Dark ban out the Varus in the end. E-Man does like playing Varus. He is quite a Varus abuser, I guess you could say. But I mean, most likely you would be seeing an AP champion on the bottom side here for Control, because they already have the Jace, they already have the Garen as well, with Diana being banned as well, which is kind of the only real AP champion that you see. The Corki being picked up as well. We've seen Corki banned quite a lot, and the priority of Corki has definitely gone up quite a bit as well, especially with all these champions as well, which means that it might even be Corki mid as well. It might even be seeing a Morgana support. This definitely puts a spanner in the twist for the side of Team Dark.
Yes, and from Control side, it has to be Orianna. She's the last pick available in that mage. Otherwise, you're falling down into like A and B tier of viable picks. So I actually think this is still pretty good, because this is going to sound odd in team fighting. Like Jace, Orianna, while they are like ranged champions, they aren't that ultra long range that we see from people. They're not as quite far out as Corki can do some of the damage. Morgana can deal damage a little bit safer. So it's still quite a short range composition from Control right now. Against Darius, that's where they struggle. And there's some disengage coming through.
Yeah, the Gragas being picked up as well. Is that mid lane Gragas? I believe it is mid lane Gragas as well. Garen in the top lane, Jason jungle as well. It could very much be a mid lane Gragas for Ryder Zito. I spoke a little bit to Snitch, but obviously before the first series as well, about Gragas in the mid lane as well. Obviously did get the buff in patch 3.0a as well. A little bit of AD damage. We've seen Gragas in the jungle as well. And I think Gragas is just good for both situations. If you want a bit of engage, if you want a bit of disengage. But wow, that's a sonar.
We're going team fight. Team fight
Wow.
scaling with Sona. Don't know. That's one I want to focus on in lane, and I want to kind of bring up that Gragas point that you were just talking about with Control. We've also seen Garen in the middle lane. We've also seen Gragas in the jungle. So like Jace, Garen, Gragas can triple flex through 3 roles, each of them, and you normally don't get to do that on blue side. Like normally you don't get to be like, okay, well we'll just decide once we see all of the lanes. So this Sona I don't think affects the draft in the top half at all. So Control kind of get a bit of a freebie on that one, but Sona, Darius, Corki, Morgana, team fight is quite strong there.
Yeah, the Sona, I mean, this is the first time we've seen Sona picked or banned in the WREC. And it's a very, obviously, late game champion, mid game champion. In the early game, you don't really have too much pressure. You can poke a little bit, you can heal up a little bit as well. But it's really when he gets into the mid and the late game with Sona, once she has the Archangel stuff, once she has stuff for the flying water and items as well, she can keep spamming her abilities. And when you have a bruiser like Darius by your side as well, if you can keep healing the Darius and keep buffing the Darius as well, and we know how well Elegi can play on Darius, he could probably run over this game. But Stress, I'm really excited to get into this game. Both these drafts are really, really spicy. Both these teams are so close as well. I can't wait to get into this game.
I can't wait to get into the game either. For Control, this is like an early healing reduction game, like 100%. You do have a few champions that can apply it quite well. Executioner's Calling on Jace would be one. Oblivion Orb on it's not the best Gragas item in the world, but when you look at like the necessary fact that you have Sona healing, you have Morgana even has a bit of healing, Kha'Zix's healing, Darius healing as well. I think it's going to be something Control have to address early on. And the lanes have settled. We've got Garen in the top lane. We do have that Gragas in the middle lane that you mentioned. Jace in the jungle for the side of Control. And it's Morgana mid and Corki on the bottom side. That was a little bit more standard out of Team Dark. And there's a lot of trading early game already onto that Corki.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention as well is actually this mid lane matchup, Morgana against Gragas. You can see already, right, as Izzo is really, really struggling. And this mid lane matchup, Morgana's going to get so much high priority in this mid lane, which will allow her to roam around the map as well. And I really want to see Sync try and take that as an advantage, try and maybe take double skull grab to wow. Already this bot lane duo, Komoto and E-Man. I'm really excited. I know both of these players. I know them so well, so seeing them play competitively is really, really exciting for me. But already, you know, the aggression, and I spoke a little bit about Sona and Corki. They don't really have the best of the early games. And when you have a Thresh in your lane, Orianna doesn't do the most of the early, it doesn't do a lot of early game damage. But when you have a Thresh that has a lot of playmaking potential as well, and you can even see Jace as well going down to the bottom side. Looks like it will be a split map for now. Josh is going to ward the river, and we'll spot out Sync eventually. I think there you go. We'll eventually spot out Sync, but yeah, a bit of a split map at the moment, which shows that Control really want to try and play through this bottom lane if they can to try and get an early advantage before this Sona ramps up.
I think it makes sense. A-Man woke up and shows violence this morning, walking into lane, just throwing those empowered auto attacks. For those of you perhaps that don't play Orianna a whole lot, one of the things is her passive, at least in PC, I'm pretty sure it's the same in Wild Rift, has additional AP damage on it. So that's what makes her a little bit stronger than some mages in the early game. Typically, a lot of AD carriers don't care about that and deal more damage. But Corki, as you said, takes a couple of items really to have most of his damage come out, especially once you get those rockets at the ultimate stage. So we'll keep an eye on bottom lane. We'll keep an eye on top lane as well, as Josh does not have his ultimate, and he is picking a fight against the Darius that does Elegy. Is it enough? No, yes it is. It's the bleed. First blood goes to Elegy, and that's the worst possible start potentially for Control. They are going to be able to clean this one up with a kill going over to Jace, but not the start they were hoping for, with Elegy picking up one kill.
I mean, Control, Dame tweeted he doesn't want Josh to in, and he's already inting. He's already died first. I mean, I don't know what more. If you don't want your top lane to in, give them Garen, but he still dies to Elegi anyway. I mean, really, really well played by Elegi, taking advantage that he had level 5 available. Unfortunately, for Josh, he didn't have level 5, so he was a little bit far behind there. But really nice roam by Jace, by Komoto as well. Sorry, by Ferox. I got a little bit mixed up there because his name is Ferox, but in-game name is a little bit different. But yeah, Ferox and Komoto roaming up into the Baron lane as well, which evens things up a little bit, which means that E-Man had to be by himself down in the Dura lane. But if you're playing these AP mages down in the Dura lane, you're completely fine, especially as an Orianna as well. You can clear the waves really quickly, and it allows Komoto and it allows the Thresh to roam around the map and make these plays.
I don't know about you, but that's a mistake I've made, the one that Josh just made so many times, where you're like, I'm not quite level 5, but there's enough minions in front of me that as long as I kill them while we're fighting, my ult's going to come up and I'm going to be able to ult him and kill. Against the Darius, that's like suicide. That is like the worst decision you can make, because unless you get that kill, he's just going to run away with the game. And I think that that's really like Elegy is in such a strong position from this. Double Black Cleaver's already completed. This is that slightly different Corki build that we've seen. We've seen a bunch of different builds on Corki. You've seen Triforce, you've seen, I believe, Manamune, people were building at one point. Like, this is going to be a Black Cleaver Corki build, which we were talking about this last week, where you can stack it up really quickly off his E, and in the same way that like Darius stacks it up very quickly, you can shred through the armor, but I don't know how effective that is in this game. It's only really going to be Garen that's stacking armor, and while he does stack a lot of armor quite quickly, I don't know whether that's as impactful as you'd like it to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about the Team Comp and Team Dark as well, they have Darius as well, which will, you know, help quite a bit with the armor reduction that you'll be able to get from Black Cleaver, but I might have to stop talking. Corki still has his package available. They're using the Rift Tower. We might get a fight. Yeah,
we may very well get it, but Control are going to be able to take the Dragon at this point. This is where you back away and just focus down on that Rift Herald, as the objective's gone. No real use of fighting here, so you can pressure behind the turret here. Control are a little bit low. Here comes the package just to cut off the rest of Control, and Control can't get in range yet to get the kill. Valkyrie over the wall. Really well played. Reserved by Team Dark. Control got the Dragon, but as soon as it was gone, Team Dark go, okay, well, we just need to cut our losses, take the win where we can, use this Rift Herald.
Yeah, I really like that Team Dark uses the Rift Herald mid there. Already opens up the map completely. When a mid lane tower goes down at 5 minutes into the game, you have to be so careful now as an Orianna. You can see Orianna's pushing up a little bit too far for my liking, to be fair. You can see how much control it could give to Team Dark around the map now. They can use this to try and make some flanks, try and get their mid lane priority as well, which is going to be a lot easier as well for the side of Team Dark. But they used the Rift Herald because they knew that Control were going to be at the Dragon, so they knew that they were going to take a bit longer to rotate to the mid lane, and they were able to take the mid lane tower as well. It's a big lead. You know, it might not be a big gold lead, but it's a big map advantage for the side of Team Dark.
Yeah, I think if E-Man does that on the Orianna where Thresh is not around, I think that is like pick central against the Kha'Zix. The Kha'Zix is going to find you, isolate you, and shred through faster than you can survive. We haven't really talked much about this Kha'Zix. Doesn't find a lot of meta play. I feel like partly because this bruiser meta generally tends to be so short range that you need an engaged tool sometimes to come from the jungle. So we see a lot of Lee Sin, we see a lot of Jarvan. Kha'Zix doesn't really offer that on his own. He's more about getting picks, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you have these AD bruisers, it's really hard to try and get picks with Kha'Zix because he wants to try and burst people down. But when you're against the likes of a Garen, a Jace that's going to be building a little bit tanky, even Gragas a little bit as well, and even Thresh, you know, Kha'Zix like to play against these enchanter supports like Sonar that they have on their team at the moment, like the assassins as well, because that means that Kha'Zix can jump in, can try and get them resets and try and assassinate himself. But against these AD bruisers, you don't really see Kha'Zix that much because of that as well. But if you can get ahead with Kha'Zix, if you can get a few items under your belt and a little bit of gold as well, even if you are against tanks like Garen, you can still try, you know, you can still one-shot them. That's the great thing about Kha'Zix.
Well, there's 3 members of Team Dark down on the bottom side. They're making a play on top side as well, under the turret, just to try and get any damage down. So this 3-man stack on the bottom side is just going to play the defensive way of controlling the map. Generally, you cannot make a play on one side of the map while also making a play on the opposite side. The number imbalance is normally too different. So you always have a weak side and a strong side. You have to be careful on which you're playing on. That's macro that I'm sure over time will get dictated in Wild Rift. It will be a little bit different to PC, but a lot of these like fundamentals are quite well established. So Dark and Control playing this game out quite slowly and carefully. I feel like that probably benefits Team Dark with this Sonar. It's giving Sonar time to get into the game and get items.
I think on both sides, I think they both have a pretty decent late game comp. I mean, you talk about the Sonar. The Sonar is probably going to be the big late game tool for Team Dark. They do have the Corki as well that is going to be scaling up, Morgana as well. On the side of Control, they still have, you know, they still do have a little bit of scaling as well. They have the Orianna for themselves. They have the Jace as well, which in the late game, that Shot Blast acceleration gate is something that you do not want to put yourself into, and especially Jash as well on the Garen is going to be building really, really tanky as well. But Rift Herald's up in 10 seconds. Both these teams want to try and go for this Rift Herald.
Yeah, right as Zito's not here, but look at the damage that's already come out from the Garen. That's one of the reasons why you've seen so many bans already. Double kill, and surely this is Control looking to pick it up. Elegy will try and get a kill off that first ult. Does get it, so got the reset, and now out goes Komoto and can't quite find the distance out from this fight. It's 3 for 2 overall in favor of Control, but the health bars are so low. Everybody splits, and we're going to go for a secondary fight for these objectives.
Great hook by Komoto there. I believe he hooked the Kha'Zix in the end. I don't know if it was Kha'Zix or Sona, but in the end, the follow-up for Jash as well, flashing in, using the ultimate as well to pretty much execute the Sona. And you can see the problem that Sona has in the sort of early game that we're still in at the moment is that if you do get caught, especially with the likes of Garen as well, with the execute damage and the true damage that he can deal as well, Sona just gets completely obliterated off the face of the map. It's going to be Team Dark that are going to get the objective in the end. They were able to get out on the map sooner, and with the Dragon up as well. And you can see this mid lane priority that I spoke about already. Control can't really do anything as well, especially with this mid lane, because they don't have a tower to fall back to as well, which gives Team Dark this huge priority in the river as well. But there might be another team fight. This could get spicy.
Yeah, they're waiting for Ryder Zito's ultimate to come back up. It's only a matter of seconds away, and they've got all of their team fight ults. If they can get this to connect, it could be huge for Control, and they've already picked up one as Darius Elegy gets one. Can he reset off this? Doesn't quite get the second one, as Garen is going to be able to shut down for a double kill on his own. And now they're chasing. It was stolen by Jace. They land the hook, aren't going to go for it. I think that's the right call under this tower. You can swing back out to middle lane to rejoin the rest of Control, and they have taken control, at least for now, of this game.
You can see how close these team fights are, Stressed. They're just back and forth. Elegy was trying so hard on the backline there to get the resets. He did get the reset on one, tried to land the ultimate on the second one, but unfortunately fell as well. But Josh, I spoke a little bit about him hinting, in the early laning phase. He's got 2 double kills in a row now on this Garen, and it's absolutely crazy. We're going to look back at the replay as well. You can see even though Team Dark did have control of the river, they kind of gave up in the end. You see Elegy trying so hard in his backline, but you can see the Garen in the end, just like, yeah, I'm just going to do Garen things. I'm just going to slam on you. See Elegy as well on the backline, trying so hard to get the resets, but in the end, another double kill. E-Man trying to flash in as well. The hook did land from Komoto, but unfortunately, they didn't want to tower dive that far as well. And there's more fights in the duo lane. Nothing too crazy happening at the moment, but look at the gold lead, Stress. We are dead even on gold. 2 towers to 1, but Control, they have 2 dragons. They have the mountain and the ocean dragon.
This is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see a closer game, and really it is a game of like mid lane priority being in favor of Team Dark, but these team fights starting to go the way of Control, at least for now. We've talked a little bit about how the later this game goes, Team Dark do have some team fight strength that is perhaps a little bit better than Control's, but the scaling is there or thereabouts on execution. That last team fight was literally the difference of half a second. If Elegy's second ultimate goes off and gets that second kill and he gets health back, suddenly that's a completely different team fight. And those are the windows that we're talking about for these teams. Now they're going to try and push back on this bottom lane as Rift Herald is going to get the tower for them. Oh, didn't get it before the first charge, so won't have a full health Rift Herald for the second tower. Wouldn't have been much more than 1 charge anyway, but it is 5 members. They pulled Jace back to try and reset, but this Rift Herald is likely to die before it ever gets the second charge. Disengage comes through. That should be the end of this phase for Team Dark.
Yeah, Josh got a tower up in the top lane as well, in the Baron lane. So overall, an even trade for Control, even though they were in a bit of a disadvantage as well. But a great disengage and a great explosive cast by Ryder Zito just to stop the Rift Herald from charging in and stop Team Dark from maybe trying to look for it. But yeah, this Garen at the moment, Black Cleaver completed already. Sterox Gauge, Dead Man's Plate. That is one tanky Garen. Yeah, that is one big, beefy Garen that you don't want to deal with. 4 1-1 now as well. And honestly, if you look at the side of Team Dark, they kind of don't really have a lot of consistent damage, I would say. I mean, the Corki, if the Corki went for I would say like a crit build instead of going for this Black Cleaver, maybe might have done a little bit more damage. If you don't know Corki's third ability, you'll be able to shred the armor and shred the magic resist of the champions over to the side of Control. So he'll be able to do a little bit of damage as well, but because he's building Black Cleaver, I don't think he's going to do a lot of burst damage, as sometimes you see like this crit build. But you mentioned before, I wanted to quickly mention something. You mentioned before the draft left as well, the anti-heal over on the side of Control. The Gragas, the Orianna as well. We might see maybe a Bramble Vest come out. I like to see a Bramble Vest on the side of Thresh and on the side of Garen as well, because if Orianna and Gragas doesn't do any damage at all to these frontline tanks, and if they are attacking, you know, likes of the Garen or the likes of the Thresh, they will be able to get the anti-heal as well from the Bramble Vest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Garen's one of those weird picks where if you don't want to go Bramble Vest right away, which is fine, you can force it to apply if you buy an Executioner's Calling. I'm not advocating for it, but like it's a secondary option, right? Like I kind of would love to see that. But I mean, that's kind of the analyst's dream, is when you're like, they need anti-heal and they buy anti-heal. Because the analyst's nightmare is where you're like, well, you need anti-heal, and then like 6 items in, someone's like, okay, I will buy 1 Oblivion Orb. But we're setting up for this team fight as Control are looking to take the third down. They already have 2. What to apprehend, looking for the fight. There goes the package all the way through. But look, the damage is not quite there. They're not able to turn it back around. But after the crescendo, here's the back end of the team fight with this Sona starting to get the damage done. Elegy did not get the reset on that, but I think the damage has been done. Control started this team fight so well, and it's now all on Jash to try and turn it back around, because they have lost 3 members already. What a start to the team fight, but what a turnaround for Dark.
Yeah, it was the package in the end, I think, was so huge for Mario. The package across the entire team, and it split up Control as well. And when they were split up, the Sona flashed in with the crescendo, but I might not have time to talk about the last fight. They're going to try and go for a Baron still here.
Yeah, there's no smite available on the side of Control, so they're just going to have to get the health bars low and try and force Team Dark to stick around. They have so much AoE damage, but Raidazito can't quite do it. He's picked up 1 thanks to the Baron damage, but the Baron has gone over to Team Dark, and this game is on a knife's edge between both of these teams.
This is what we were expecting coming into this series, Stress. Back and forth fights, really close series. I'm so glad we get to watch this last fight as well. Look at Elegy. He doesn't care. He has the Black Shield. He knows he can't get crowd control. He uses Stone Plate as well. But look at the package. And after the package as well, the Sona crescendo, just splitting up the team of Control. And they weren't able to get the team fight. The Shockwave in the end as well, only landing onto Elegy. And Elegy is just this frontline tank. You can't give this guy Darius. Once you give this guy Darius, he's so comfortable. It's kind of like his one trick in the end. I mean, we know he plays other champions, but it's his most comfortable champion. And when he could play with this much confidence and just go in 1 versus 5 and know that he can't die, then there's not really much that Control to do about it.
Yeah, not much at all. And I mean, Jace still being down leaves Control in such a tough position. That team fight shows that if you don't kill multiple members of Team Dark in this composition to begin the fight, the Sona and the rest of the healing is just going to allow them to weather through, despite the healing reduction that is on the side of Control. Like, they already are set up to say, okay, let's try and address it. But if they don't get those initial kills, it's so hard to deal with Team Dark on the back end once all of those ultimates are gone. And now it's hard to deal with these Baron empowered minions that are pushing through for the first inhibitor of the game. It's going to be a slow one. There's not really any way of Team Dark stepping up, but that is a huge apprehend and massive damage coming out on the back end. And that might just be it. Team Dark may very well have done it, because that crescendo is also going to land them in a position where Team Dark have taken out 3 members of Control. And I thought it was going to be slow and steady, but this might have just ended with a bang, as Team Dark are going to push through that first inhibitor and look for more.
Yeah, I think they're just a little bit too low. But yeah, you mentioned it, the apprehend and Morgana flashing in afterwards as well. I'm pretty sure Morgana landed a 5-man ulti route as well. And that was a huge team fight. I feel like Control felt a little bit comfortable in their base, but when you have Elegy there, and you can see all the 10 members on the side of Control, come on. That's really harsh production. That's really harsh. But yeah, you can see the apprehend again. And again, there's a Black Shield by the Morgana as well. But look at this, flashing by the Morgana, the ultimate as well. And everyone on Control just has to back away. The towers do enough damage. And look at 1 mid as well. He was so low. Look at his health. He's on a sliver of health, but he still survived as well. The Sona heals coming in clutch as well. The extra movement speed as well. And my God, this game has opened up completely now. And Control, they're not in control of this game anymore, unfortunately. And they're going to have to try and look to find a way to come back into this game.
Yeah, Team Dark with a beautiful dive. Like, rarely do you see that proactive, like, dive pay off. So many times that backfires, but everybody from Control just ended up caught, as you said, within the soul shackles of Morgana. And at that point, it's all said and done. The Corki package is already available. He's going to recall, pick that up for this next Baron. And there's enough presence on the map that I think Team Dark have this. Control's only option is to somehow force a fight that works for them. But look, this Darius is monstrously strong. Yeah. Like, he's got that Guardian Angel. Corki has a Guardian Angel now already. There are multiple ways of shredding through the armor, and despite the fact that the anti-heal is there for Control, I feel like we're already into this late game moment where there's not a lot they can do ahead of these fights.
Yeah, I think there wasn't really a lot of early aggression really for Control, and I think that has to come back to the point of the mid lane tower go down. But you see the combination again, Elegy with the black shields.
Doesn't even matter that the lantern's there. Elegi's going to stand on top of it and make sure that there's no chance of E-Man getting out of that one. With the Bane carry down, like, Control can't even contest this Baron.
No, they can't do anything at all. And even if they do, look at their base as well. Their base is in absolute shambles. But this is do or die now for Control. They have to do something. Great explosive cast.
Huge explosive cast, but the crescendo is going to shut Control down. Desperately, Gragas Rider Zito is going to try and get into the backline. Look at how low they are. If only there was a little bit more in the tank for Control. But Team Dark, they're going to shut them out from this one. Yes, there is a kill going over to Jace, but Garen has fallen. Multiple members of Control are respawning, and it looked close. It was closer perhaps than it should have been, but Team Dark continuing to extend their lead.
And the big thing I have to note now, actually, even though it's a 4 versus 2, there's no jungler up for Team Dark. And Komodo, I'm not too sure that's where you want to be. The hook.
He's going to get vision and maybe use it to get out. I was wondering whether he was just going to try and use it as an escape route, but oh dear.
I think the problem was that Control didn't really have any vision of the dragons. He was trying so hard to get vision of the dragon. There was no wards or anything. Yeah. But when you're walking into a Darius like that as well, when you don't, I think he just didn't realize or something. He just hooks the dragon instead. He's like, okay, guys, they're not doing dragon, but I'm dead. So I can't really do that much. But here, looking back at the replay, this explosive cast was so huge. But you can see, as you mentioned before, all the healing and shielding as well. He actually, Rider Zito on the backline, landed a 3-man body slam as well. But there was just no follow-up in the end. And Sync in the end did die to the Jace, but I think with all this healing and with all this shielding as well, with how confident Team Dark and especially Elegy are feeling as well, this combination of Darius plus Morgana's just like, okay, I back shield up, Elegy, just jump in. You're not going to get crowd control as well. There's nothing really that they could do. But now with the vision control for Team Dark and with this Elder Dragon, they have to look to try and steal this, but that's it.
Here, already blocking, and they've got that first kill onto Jace, looking for another. Again, the damage. Zito is so close to being able to turn this back around, and Control are just going to try and roll the dice one more time. It's not enough. The Sona heals come through, keep one alive, and Elegy, despite the fact that he dropped low, he still had that Guardian Angel, still has it available, and it's so close for Control, but they are just falling in these fights. They cannot take out Dark fast enough. And this Sona and the rest of the healing is just keeping Team Dark alive.
Oh my, these fights. I mean, even though Team Dark have control of this game, they're still so close. You mentioned Rider Zito on this Gragas doing so much damage. I really want to see the damage numbers after to see how much damage he actually done. Probably not too much, but yeah, Team Dark now with the Elder Dragon, only have Infernal Dragon as well, but with the Elder Cloud Dragon, it's going to get that extra movement speed as well. And yeah, Control can't really do much about this Baron. I think it's just a matter of time now, really, before Team Dark close out this first game. And it was a close game. It was a very close game. I feel like I'm talking a bit too far ahead here because it's still Control still might be able to come back, but I think with the Elder Dragon, with the Baron as well, it's going to be really hard for Control to come back into this game.
They're 11,000 gold down. Team Dark have been in full control of the second half of the game, and despite the fact the explosive cask is going to land, Sona flashes out, lower health bars forced out with the stasis from Rider Zito, and there's damage, but it's not enough. Once again, the same story for the third or fourth fight in a row. It is going to be Team Dark crushing through the base of Control. A really close beginning of the game, but I feel like Team Dark, if anything, was the critical moment of the game. That mid tower going down so early, and then the inhibitor tower going down really just crippled Control, and Team Dark were like, we have the entire map to work with.
I really like how decisive Team Dark were, especially after taking that first Rift Herald. They were like, okay, controller at the Baron, let's take this mid lane tower. And the mid lane tower opened up the map so much for Team Dark. And Control was just kind of scared after that point as well, because when you don't have that mid tower available, it's really hard to push up and to try and take control of that mid wave, because, you know, there might be a Kha'Zix jumping behind you. There might be a Darius behind you. There might be so many things as well. But yeah, looking at the replays as well, the early game was so close, especially in these team fights as well. But I have to mention Mario as well on this Corki, the multiple packages across this game as well, just splitting up the fight for Team Dark really helped them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's kind of a characteristic of our better bot lane carry players have this versatility of being able to play a lot more than just, auto attack champions that just focus forward. For instance, like we've seen Feko from Formulation land really good Galio ultimates. Now we see this in the side of Mario with great packages. I think those kind of are a sign of some of our names to watch in that bottom lane.
Yeah, I think it just shows how flexible Wild Rift is as a game as well in general, really. No one's really kind of figured out the meta yet, especially with a new patch as well. But there's so many new picks coming. We see Sona come in as well. Sona gets the first victory, 100%, by the way, Sona pick. So maybe teams will have to look out for that one. But yeah, overall, a great game to watch. And honestly, it was kind of what everyone expected, a really close game. But in the end, it was just Team Dark's decisive decision making. Like you mentioned, the mid lane tower, the top lane inhibitor as well. After that, they were able to take the Elder, they were able to take the Baron in the end as well. And yeah, Control unfortunately falling after the first game, but I'm really excited to see what they have planned for the second game as well.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Team Dark, I think, seemed to be just a step ahead on the macro game of Control, which is exciting because I think Control, some of the team fights were going their way, and if it wasn't for the healing composition, I think it may very well have gone differently. But Team Dark have put that first win in the board. Let's take a look at the stats. You mentioned about wanting to see some Gragas stats from Ryder Zito. It's so sad because he's 2, 3, and 4, which doesn't look like a great stat line, but the number of fights he actually almost won for Control was so tragic that it was just not quite enough.
Yeah, single-handedly, he was doing so well. The explosive cast, the body slams as well, but there was just no real follow-up. You can see the damage overall is actually pretty even, really, for both teams. Surprisingly, Morgana did a lot of damage, and I think the reason why Morgana did that much damage was that play in the Baron lane that we saw, where he flashed in, he was able to land the 5-man ultimate. But look, you can see here the gold lead throughout the whole game is really just after about the 15-minute mark, the Team Dark just excelled their gold lead. And Control, they did have a bit of a gold lead as well, even though they did lose that mid lane tower. But again, even though you do have a gold lead, sometimes it is that control of the map that you have to worry about.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know which play is going to be our play of the game. At least I hope so. I'm hoping it's the one around Dragon with the Corki package that comes through. There was a number of fights that went Team Dark's way, but our play of the game is going to be the one in the top lane. This, actually, it had to be this. This dive was beautiful.
Yeah. I was hoping this would be the play of the game myself. The 3-man apprehend with the black shield that Elegi had available to him as well. And then after that, Morgana flashing in, using the ultimate, getting the root as well. And that was kind of nail the coffin, I feel like, for the game. They took that top lane inhibitor. They were able to control the map as well with Team Dark. They come out on top for game number 1, but I hopefully it won't be too long until we get into the second game.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't the last time I'm saying this today, but keep with us. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes for the next game in the series between Control and Team Dark.
Ready?
When we say it's coming, do we mean it's going to be the first 2-1 of the open bracket round of 16? I hope so. I so hope so. Stress here with Stuart for Control versus Team Dark. And we promised you a close game. We gave you a close game for game 1. So I hope it's the same for game 2, Stuart. That was one of the most enjoyable games we've casted so far.
I think that was probably one of my favorite games throughout the whole of the past 2 weeks and around the 16, to be honest. So close throughout the entire game, really. And you just saw it with the goal graph as well before. After 15 minutes, that was when Team Dark were able to accelerate that goal lead.
Well, let's hear what Carmeline has for us for her key points going into game number 2.
So, Team Dark, or shall I say Team Dunk? Essentially, they picked Zona, who hadn't appeared in competitive for quite a long time. And there we go, they won the game. So please pick Zona in the solo queue. She's really powerful, she's really nice, and she's also my main. So thank you very much for that one. Now, for the second thing, can we talk about the poor dragons in this game? It's not only that they get killed again and again, but it's also about them being, what's about it? In this game, everyone was taking one dragon, then the herald, then the dragon. We go to the other dragon. Set the game before that happens, please. And finally, the never-ending story. Back and forth with like 50% of things that both the Stress and Stuart said during the casting. So I want to bring you this amazing masterpiece by singing a little bit. This game was never-ending story. Da 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 da. Back to you.
I can't tell whether I'm in Neverending Story or Stranger Things. Those of you that watch Stranger Things will get that that's a quite apt reference. We're not going to turn this into the musical edition, otherwise I will be singing for the rest of the broadcast, and nobody wants that from me.
I'm sure I will as well.
But you will as well? All right, next week we'll do all singing, all dancing, Wild Rift European Championship. So, there was a lot to unpack from that last game. Ryder Zito, I think, if he was on a champion that could, do a little bit more finishing damage, I think we might very well have seen a different story there. It kind of one of those players that I want to watch heading into game number 2 now.
Yeah, I think Ryder Zito, Carmeline's mentioned a bit before, but played on Team Dark before and actually played in the jungle as well. So now he's role swapped into that mid lane. We did see the Gragas as well, which maybe is a comfortable pick for him because he's played in the jungle before. I nearly forgot my words there for a second. But yeah, he's definitely a player to look out for. And now, interestingly enough, Control stay on the blue side for game number 2. So, if I'm not mistaken, normally the team that loses, they get to decide the side of which they want to go, whether it's blue side or red side. So now Control, interestingly enough, stay on the blue side. They don't want the red side. They don't want to force out, maybe a counter pick or anything like that. They want to try and get the first pick priority.
I think you got to ban Darius in round 1, though. I think maybe that even is the reason for doing it, is you're like, okay, actually our picks worked fine. It's just our bans that can change a little bit. Because I like what Control were doing, and they were doing really well with the picks that they had. If it wasn't for the Darius, I think that Team Dark wouldn't have been able to stabilize quite so well. Obviously, that means he'll have to change something in this draft going through. Maybe they first pick the Darius for themselves. It's Lee Sin, Diana banned away, Fiora banned away, Zed again from Team Dark taken out. So that's a really interesting one. Ryder Zito, I just said if he had a champion with more finishing damage, and I came into game 1 being like, I don't know whether Zed's worthy of red side. Maybe that's kind of the performance we would expect if Ryder Zito had a champion that got those kills like the Zed. So Team Dark taking it away.
Yeah, surprisingly, the exact same ban so far. Now, will Team Dark ban away the Jace, or will they ban away the Jax like they did last time? Yep, exactly the same bans. Yeah,
surely.
This is interesting, because now what do you prioritize for Control? Do you want to still focus on the Jace, but then you give away the Darius as well? And another pick is the Morgana as well. There you go. As soon as I say it, that's when it gets picked as well. I think the Black Shield was a huge factor in the first game as well. Being able to put the Black Shield onto the Darius just allowed him to walk towards Control and just dominate. But Sync again, we don't really see a lot of Kha'Zix. He's just like, you know what, give me Kha'Zix. I could just run over the entire game.
Yeah, there's so many options available. Like Jace is up and has made it 2 picks through this draft as well. That's okay. This is a wild draft in comparison to what we normally expect. Jace has fallen through the first rotation. Camille has fallen through the first rotation. Like there are some significant picks that are still available. Jarvan is up as well. A lot of jungle picks with this Kha'Zix taken. So this could be Jace. Top lane could be Jace in the jungle. Darius is still up. Like we know Team Dark will 3rd pick Darius. They did it in the previous game, and I think it's going to be the same again if it's available. So if you don't take it here, this is the same matchup we saw in game 1. And while the matchup in lane was fine and Josh got kills on Garen in the middle of the game, this Darius was too uncontrollable for Control to deal with.
Oh, interesting enough, they don't even pick up the Darius in the end. So now for Control, you 100% ban the Darius. There's no way you let the Darius through now. I think the Ziggs priority is very, very interesting, especially when the likes of Orianna is still up, Brand is still up as well. Ziggs does outrange, Morgana and can do a lot of damage. I feel like Morgana has the better wave clear than Ziggs, but Ziggs can do quite a lot of wave clear as well at the same time. But I think they just don't, Team Dark just don't want to kind of put themselves in a hole. They don't want to leave their AP duo lane pick until the second ban phase. So then they know that the sides of Control can ban away the likes of, Ziggs. Corki, interesting enough, being banned away as well.
Yeah.
Not really too sure about that one. You already have the Ziggs, unless they think it's Ziggs mid lane, maybe.
Yeah, it could also be Corki mid lane that they're trying to ban away. So some really interesting draft priority that is different to what we've seen. Jarvan getting banned, I think, makes sense. You want to take away the jungle picks from Control just in case that Jace is not going in the jungle. Of course, we have seen Garen in the middle lane. We've seen Jace in the Baron lane. We've seen Morgana in the middle lane. So again, Control taking this heavy, flexible style composition. Galio taken away, I mean, it's not the biggest problem pick with the composition that Control have, but it's another one of those crowd control heavy picks that kind of compensate by jumping across the map from a distance. There's the Darius pick ban. Thank you. Well, I think that had to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Olaf is most likely going to go to Elegi in the Baron lane, to be honest, but I don't think you can take that risk because I think Chingxi can still take the Olaf in the mid lane as well, and you just don't want Elegi to play that Darius again. The reason, I mean, I quite like the Olaf pick anyway because it kind of stops all like the dark binding and everything, the slows and everything as well, and even if there is any more crowd control, but that's a Pantheon pick as well. A lot of short range AD kind of, not really, I would say really bruisers. I mean, I would say there's a lot more damage over to the side of Team Dark with Kha'Zix, with Pantheon as well. Not really a lot of bruiser, I guess you can say. More to do with like heavy burst damage, especially with Pantheon and Kha'Zix.
So there's a lot of flexibility here. I mean, we have to assume that Pantheon and Olaf are flexing between mid and top. Pantheon's support is a solo queue thing. I don't rank it for competitive. I think it just doesn't do enough compared to traditional supports. Mostly runs in kill lanes, which Ziggs is not a kill lane. Ziggs does not do damage like that in the laning phase. So Team Dark are going to be able to flex it at least a little bit until the last pick. I would imagine this should be support coming through here for them when they eventually last pick. And it could either be jungle, could be marksman, could be mid lane. Controller picking everything other than support at this point.
So Renekton, that's going to be Baron lane Renekton. So probably will be up against the Olaf as well. And my God, is that support Amumu? Oh, please let me support Amumu. I mean, I just wanted to MF. If Amumu was being picked, why not pick MF as well?
Ziggs, Mega Inferno Bomb is
going to
do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that is a really, really strong combo. I mean, for those who don't know, I think the reason why me and Stress are quite excited about this is because in PC League, when Mumu did get that little bit of a mini rework, he now has a double bandage sauce now with the charges. Support and Mumu was quite a high priority pick in PC League, and it's all about the early game pressure as well. It's all about trying to get the double bandage toss with the aftershock as well, with the early aggression. And wow, this draft just blew wide open. I was not expecting.
How did we have a draft? How did we have a draft with no Camille priority?
Oh my God.
Kha'Zix first pick on red side with a bunch of other junglers up, and then Amumu support to round it out. Like, what is this draft? This is insane. If you showed me this draft, I'd be like, this is troll. I watched North America Wild Rift last night, and I was like, Soraka mid and Janna. These are such troll KTRL drafts would never see drafts like that in Europe. And here we are, not 24 hours later, with the Mumu support and the Kha'Zix first pick. So this patch, we said it wasn't going to change much. Maybe. I mean, Mumu got a few changes, right? As you already mentioned, some of the adaptations that Mumu's had. So this series just went from good to great with this set of picks. It is a Mumu support. It is Pantheon mid against Garen. And I mean, okay, Control. They're 1-0 down. They're now facing up against a Mumu support. Do we expect a Mumu support to be building damage, or is this a tank pick, do you think? I mean, we haven't seen it in competitive yet.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is most likely going to be a full tank. You probably see items like Dead Man's Play, even Zeke's Convergence is a really, really good item as well. The only problem really with a Mumu down this duo lane, you normally like to pair a Mumu with like these early aggressive champions like Draven, like Misfortune, but Ziggs is not really this over-aggressive champion in the early game, and especially when you have a Morgana as well, that could just Black Shield as well. So it can be a little bit hard, but I love Juicy for this pick. Juicy is my favorite support now. Sorry, Komoto, I love you. I know we played together, but you didn't bring out the Amumu. I was hoping you could pick like maybe NASA support, like you trolled me in Origin Series last year, but Juicy on this Amumu, and you can see they're already trying to fight as well. But look,
the hooks landed, the damage down
it.
from me, man. Looking for this first blood, forces out the honey fruit, and friendship ended with Komoto. And somebody from your chat needs to make that meme. I know they're in this chat. Somebody do it. Put it in Stu's Discord. We'll get it on Twitter. We'll get it on broadcast at some point, maybe later or next week. Who knows? Control right now, taking advantage of this bottom lane play. And I think that's really on point, what you're saying about Ziggs. It's like, this composition as a whole needs finishing damage in the sense of like Pantheon has early game damage, can get people low. Kha'Zix can take initial picks on people, but the later this game goes, Kha'Zix and Pantheon both kind of run out of damage, and it's going to be up to Ziggs to start finishing off kills, which is not exactly what Ziggs is best at. So I want to watch how that goes. It's a little bit disjointed for my liking.
Yeah, I think Team Dark overall just have a very early game team comp, really, you know, with the Pantheon who wants to play aggressive, the Amumu wants to play aggressive, but then you pick champions like really, you know, Olaf and Ziggs that kind of like to scale a little bit. They like to get a few items, they like to get a few levels before they actually start to get in the team fights. But okay, we got a little bit too excited about the Amumu pick. Let's kind of get back down to planet Earth for a second. I guess oh my god, the hook lands!
Oh, there's no time to calm down. Elegy, how did that not?
Oh, the flash!
This guys, no, you've got to get this kill. That was, you threw everything. They threw every single thing they had at that kill and managed to pick it up.
Oh my god, I thought he was going to escape for a second. This game has it all, honestly. This game really has it all. The flash hook by Komoto, what a hook as well.
Oh, it wasn't available, that's why. Oh, jeez.
And then, then in the end, Ferox as well flashes in, uses the smite, uses everything he has as well. Komoto's all the way across the map. He's in the mid lane now.
He's everywhere. There's the hook. Gets the kill after the Garen ultimate. This game is insane. Control have started this game out so well from Komoto's roams. I am so hyped for this game. This is already exceeding game one, and we're only 3 minutes in.
Oh my god, you can see the roams that Thresh has available with Komoto as well on this Thresh, one of his favorite champions as well. We've been seeing him play a lot in solo queue. I think even Hells did a guide as well with Komoto on Thresh as well, so one of his favorite champions as well. And you can see the roams paying off, and you can see kind of how Juicy can't really do much on Amumu. What do you really do early game as Amumu with the roams? I mean, you have the bandage toss, but that's kind of pretty much it, really, to be fair. You don't really have anything else as well. It looks like he's going for Warmog's first item, maybe, for Amumu, which doesn't really have the effect. You need to get a little bit more health until you can get the Warmog's effect as well to get that little bit of extra healing. But a bit of an interesting item choice in the end, but here we are. The Dragon and the Rift Herald has spawned. Who's going to be prioritizing what? There's a lot of members of Control down in this bottom side. They want to get the Cloud Dragon as well. And the extra movement speed actually for the side of Control can be really, really important, especially for the likes of Garen and everything. But look at Juicy.
He's 1 versus 4. They don't know the rest of his team are not with him.
Wait a second.
This is a sad mummy. And I mean, how has this gone so wrong? As Control, they were 1v4'd by an Amumu. In comes Pantheon, and now it's E-Man running out of this. Now finally finds Jash, and Jash will be able to kind of steady a little bit of this ship. 1 kill went over to Team Dark. Okay, the Cloud Drake did, however, go over to Control. This is a bit of a I'm gonna just say it's a bit of a fiesta through all times. I'm not saying it's a bad one, but this game is having a lot of stuff that just shouldn't happen in it.
I love how Juicy just walks up to 4 members. Look
what
at
is he
he's
doing?
Like, you know what? I'm scared.
And how
he's
does
scared
he
of me.
not die?
He comes in, he uses a Curse of Sand Mummy with that combo that you spoke about with the explosive cast as well. But the flash as well here by Sync was so funny. He's like, oh, I'm going to try flash. Misses the flash in the end as well. Yeah, but as you said, Control able to take the Dragon in the end. They will be able to get the extra movement speed with the Cloud Dragon. I really want to go back to live as well because, yeah, the Rift Herald is still up as well. It looks like we missed a little bit of a skirmish as well. And it looks like Team Dark will be able to take the Dragon. But on the other side of the map, it is going to be Garen pushing down in the dual lane. But Elegy, he has the ultimate available. He's completely fine. That's a great thing about Olaf as well, is that even if you do get caught, and Komoto again with these hooks, he's a hook magnet. He's just landing every single hook after hook after hook right now.
Yeah, it might be Josh that's in trouble in the top lane now, though, as Pantheon is here with Amumu. The ultimate not quite available yet.
Oh, no.
Is up. That is Komoto caught. He's not wanting what's on the end of that hook for once. And that's another kill going over to Team Dark. Maybe this game being a little bit rougher on the edges and a little fast tempo is actually helping Dark right now, because the ability to kind of move around the map with the Pantheon, this Amumu is starting to find plays. It's starting to kind of turn a little bit more towards Team Dark in the same way that the last one did, where it's back and forth and Control looked like they were ahead. But Team Dark are making a little bit more on the way of macro plays. When they get the Rift Herald, they use it for first tower or at least their first tower in the top side. Control do have a slight lead though for now on the gold.
Yeah, you say the first tower. The first tower actually went over to the side of Control down in the Duro lane. Not too sure if the spectators realized that, but yeah, the first tower went to Control. So even though they did use the Rift Herald, they don't get the extra gold from the first tower of the game, which is why there's a little bit of a goal lead for Control. 3 kills to 2, and also the Dragon as well. But as you said, Control starting to kind of Team Dark, starting to feel themselves a little bit now. They're starting to roam around the map. They're trying to get that priority as well. And I'm sorry, I still can't believe we have an Amumu support this game. Just seeing Amumu walk around this game, just little waddles along. He's not a sad mummy anymore. He's a really happy mummy now. He's allowed to be free on the Rod Rift, and he's able to get the picks as well. But it actually looks like it's Abyssal Mask first item for Amumu. Now, this actually works with great synergy with Ziggs as well. If you don't know, with the Abyssal Mask, it allows what's the word? It's
amplifies.
Amplifies. Yeah, the AP damage of your team. So if the Ziggs ultimate comes down as well on top of the Curse of Sand Mummy, and you also have Amumu's passive as well, which if you do curse people, the extra magic damage that you deal can turn into true damage as well. So you can kind of understand where this combo is coming from. Even went for Proto Belt as well, which is quite interesting. I'd like to see probably Stone Plate so he could be a little bit tankier, but Protobell maybe to try and land a double bandage toss and the ultimate as well on top of it. But it's kind of an interesting combo that, something new that we haven't really seen in this tournament so far. It's been very standard so far.
Yeah, it's a similar principle to those of you that play Kennen on PC. While they're slightly different because you have to choose your boot enchant. It's just about getting on top of the enemy. Like, you need to flash, basically, for everything. Komoto is going to Proto Belt. There it is! Proto Belt, Curse the Sand Mummy is going to lock down 3, and it's going to be huge as Ragnarok through the back line on Elegy, and his 2 kills going over to Sync. And that is exactly the combination that they have bought this Proto Belt and this Amumu for, and it's going to open up that Dragon form.
That timing could not be more perfect, Stress. You explained the situation, and then Juicy is like, okay, Stress, I hear you. You know what? I can hear you.
Time to go.
Yeah, time to go in. Protobell, Flash, Curse of Sand Mummy with the bomb on top as well. Komoto going a little bit too deep, but look at it. Protobell, Flash, Curse of Sand Mummy. The Ziggs ultimate was a little bit too late. I'd like the Ziggs ultimate to be a little bit later. I don't think he got the maximum damage output of what he could have got, but still, the combos there. You can see the combo that's available as well. And Team Dark get a little bit of a gold lead now. They do have the Ocean Dragon as well, which is going to allow them to heal a little bit more as well, which is going to be quite nice for champions like Olaf, like Kha'Zix and Pantheon as well. But yeah, this game is absolutely wild, completely wild.
Is insane. The thing is, I don't think this game's this team composition is always going to work out. And I think one of the downsides that we actually just saw is the fact that finishing damage isn't there against the likes of the Renekton and the Garen. They are just going to be able to eat that combo. So if they don't find E-Man or Jace on that combination, and it's only the front line they catch, I do worry that there's not enough lasting, consistent damage to come out from Team Dark. Outside of this Ziggs and then Olaf running in, but he always drops low in fights. So that's my worry for Team Dark, is if they can't finish a fight, it'll actually be the inverse of the first game, where Control will be the ones weathering through. But this is so fun to watch. Banish Toss does not hit this time around, but they're going to try and reset. The ultimates are available. In comes the Amumu, but it's not quite enough to start this fight. Curse the Sad Mummy locks people in place for the Mega Inferno Bomb, but look, the Renekton survived through the majority of it. It's a triple kill for Sync, actually converting those kills. 4 members of Control are dead, but again, it's such a close fight. Right as Zito wants to try and continue this on.
The initial engage was so good for Control. The flay, I think it was a 3 or 4 man flay by Komoto into the ultimate from Ryder Zito as well, and they just completely deleted, I believe it was Elegi, that they kind of just died completely, to be fair. But in the end, it's all eyes are on the Amumu again. Look at the Amumu. The flays, the Banish Toss, sorry, was so good. But look, the Protobelt again into the Curse of Sand Mummy. He hits all 5 members over to the side of Control, and in the end, Sync was able to clean up as well. You talk about the cleanup. Sync can have the opportunity to clean up if there are multiple members stunned and rooted over to the side of Control. But yeah, Juicy on this Amumu, showing off absolutely huge this game. We spoke about it a little bit. We spoke about the combo and everything as well, but I don't think it's really about the combo that we're really looking at the moment. We're just looking at Juicy and just the engages that he can offer as well, with the Protobelt, with the Curse of Sad Mummy. And when you don't have anything you can really do, especially because you're stunned, you have the cleanup as well from the Ziggs, from the Kha'Zix as well, and that's really been the big difference in this game so far.
It absolutely has. Like, Sync is 6-0 on this game, and he's been finding the low health targets. I haven't played a whole lot of Kha'Zix on Wild Rift. I'm not typically a jungler. Do you happen to know what the typical evolution route is? Because I'm wondering whether he'll put it into the evolved leap, since he's actually getting kills and actually cleaning up low health targets. Oh, there goes the Bandage Toss. We'll talk about that later. There's 3 found with the Mega Inferno Bomb as well, and this is exactly what we were looking at from the side of Team Dark. They make it look too easy. It's another triple kill over to Sync.
Juicy. Oh my god, this guy is absolutely insane. He must have been practicing this pick. He knows exactly what to do, but they could just end the game here.
Yeah, they're going to get this extra charge from Rift Herald to take down the inhibitor. They will back away from this in order to reset themselves. Baron's going to be up in 30 seconds, but wow, this Team Dark have just taken full control from this support pick.
Yeah, they've taken complete control as well. And going back to your point as well, I might not be able to go back to your point. We have a little bit of time. Yeah, Kha'Zix evolves. Normally you go for the first ability evolve just to get the extra range and the extra damage, the extra isolation damage as well. Right, Zito. Did he not spot Kha'Zix, or did Kha'Zix? Oh, he recalled.
I
thought he just went invisible or something for a second from his ultimate. I was like, are they going to catch him out here just before Dragon? But yeah, he did recall. But yeah, you normally go for your first evolve just to get the extra damage, the extra range as well. And then after that, you go for your leap for the resets as well. And there you go. He's jumping in for the resets.
Yeah, looking for it. There's no Amumu ultimate available to start this fight, but it sure as hell will be there to end the fight if Dark wanted to continue. There's only a couple of seconds and that'll be available. They're going to turn for that Dragon.
Yeah, they're going to turn towards the Dragon, but yeah, I think this is complete control now for Team Dark. It looks like we might not be able to get a single third game series this entire 2 weekends. It is going to be, well, it looks like for now it is going to be full, 2-0s across the board for the upper bracket, but I mean, Control, they're kind of falling behind now, but yeah, go back to this again. Juicy with the engage, the Protobelt, the Bandage Toss with the Curse of the Sad Mummy as well. And you can see Sync there with the resets getting another triple kill there as well. I mean, as mentioned, you go for your first ability for the extra damage, the extra clear as well in the jungle. Then you go for your third ability. And then kind of the third one is kind of dependent on what you really want to. Most people go for the second ability just to get the extra spikes, the extra damage, and also get the slow as well from the Serrader's Grudge, because that's a really, really good combo. But some people like to do the ultimate as well, but they're going in again.
Lantern out enough, and Komoto has maybe saved E-Man. E-Man's going to stasis. There's 3 in place.
Wait a second.
If that locks, maybe they can turn this team fight back around as Josh is trying to get into the back lane. He's chasing one low health target, and this is a very split fight as Sync has found himself Komoto. There's also a Jace here to be eaten as there's the resets coming through. Not enough frontline, but here maybe is the second half of the fight coming through as Ryder Zito and Josh are going to try and back themselves away. This Garen does not quite have much damage left. There is going to be a barrier, but it's a legendary legendary performance from Sync, and this game is going to be legendary. From Amumu to support this game to a Kha'Zix cleaning up. Team Dark are going to wipe Control out and end through the bottom lane.
Yeah, you can see that the bottom lane is going to be now dead members on the side of Control, and that's it. We don't get a single 2-1, unfortunately, over the past 2 weekends. It is going to be Team Dark taking Control 2-0. They'll move into the upper bracket as well, into the next round against Formulation, which that is going to be another really, really close game. I'm excited to watch.
I love that. That's two teams with very unique signature play styles that I think we can look towards now. Formulation against Team Dark is going to be a fun series, but you know, I predicted Control to win this. Never have I been so glad to be wrong at this point, because that was a very fun second game. Like, nobody was expecting a Mumu support from that we've talked about, at least not in competitive, but what a great start from Kamalto. Like, this Thresh was active everywhere on the map, but I feel like Team Dark, their team fighting is just too difficult to deal with.
Yeah, you can see the Team Dark wanted to go for them 5 versus 5 team fights, and Sync in the end on this Kha'Zix was able to just clean up every single fight after fight after fight. And you can see, if you do get a bit of a lead with Kha'Zix, if you do get a few items, even if you're against, you know, these sort of AD bruisers and sort of tanks like Thresh, like Renekton as well, look at these Cursed Sand Mummies over and over again. I would love to see what the play of the game is from this game, because honestly, it could be just any one of, I think there was like 3 plays as well. There was one at the Rift Herald, there was this one, there was one just before we saw as well, there's one at the end of the game. Look at that, the Cursed Sand Mummy there, hitting 5 members, and we don't really see Amumu a lot, and he did get a puff in patch 3.0a, which was only just a little bit of an extension to his first ability, Bandage Toss, but in the end you can see how effective the Cursed Sand Mummy can be, stunning 5 members on the side of Control, and they were just there to, unfortunately, not be able to take up the victory.
Yeah, really, really impressive. Fun game as well. This is kind of like one of those analysts' dream and nightmare games where, like, you get picks like a Mumu support where you're like, oh no, I haven't really seen this, so I have to think about it on the fly. But then you also get a team convert when they pick Kha'Zix, first pick, red side. It's out of the meta. It's not expected. And then you get to see exactly why they put the priority on it is exactly what gives Team Dark a 2-0 alongside the rest of that team composition. And we have our upper bracket matchups for the round of 8 locked in. And every single one of these matchups has the potential to be a banger. Zero Zone versus Viv, Game Lord versus Queso, Rix versus Na'Vi, and Formulation versus Team Dark are 8 of the absolute best teams we have in Europe going up against each other. Some great games down in the bottom side. I think Mood versus Control is going to be a fun one to watch out for. Weigers versus Principality as well up in that first lower bracket game. So many amazing games coming up. Stuart, if you had to pick one, what would it be? And then we can walk through the stats of this game.
I feel sorry for Control. I mean, I did kind of, you know, predict Team Dark to win, as you can see with the stats here as well. Rylai's Crystal Scepter as well for the Amumu with the slows as well. So even though Amumu is sad and he's crying, he is able to pick up the victory. And in the end, you know, Ziggs still doing the most damage. I think Excoundrel mentioned it yesterday as well. Even if Ziggs doesn't really look like he's doing a lot of damage, and he doesn't look like he has the best stats, he's always going to do the most damage as well. And for Control, they will be going down over to the lower bracket. But for me, the lower bracket games look really, really interesting as well. You spoke about the upper bracket games and how close some of the games will be. The lower bracket as well is so close. And as you can see here, Control actually had a steady gold lead throughout most of this game. But again, it's kind of when it comes to the mid game and the late game and the more decisive decision making that we spoke about in the first game as well, just allowed Team Dark to accelerate the goal lead and pick up the team fights that they needed to pick up this first victory for them and move on to face Formulation in that round of 8 upper bracket.
Yeah, that gold graph looking basically exactly the same as game 1. And it was what we expected. It was a close series. We were hoping for a 2-1, but nevertheless, Team Dark take the second game. Very fun team composition. You already said you don't know which player is going to be player of the game. I don't either. There's a bunch of fights that absolutely could easily be player of the game. Let's walk through this Amumu composition. Proto Belt, the MVP purchase, right?
Oh my, look at this. It had to be this, didn't it?
Beautiful.
The Proto Belt onto the Flash with the Cursed Sand Mummy as well. Keep picking off the back line as well. And there wasn't really any protection on the side of Control in the end, but there's not really much else to say. That's like, okay, everyone, you've seen Amumu now. Please do not pick it in solo queue. Please don't pick Amumu support when I'm playing solo queue. Stress, I know you're thinking the same thing now when we play duo queue. Do not pick Amumu support. The pros can play it. but not everyone can play it as well. But no, jokes aside, in the end, Juicy picking up the pocket pick with the Amumu support, I think definitely has to be the highlight of this game as well. And then we'll get into the MVP very, very shortly as well.
That's the funny thing is, like, Juicy could be the MVP, but also that Kha'Zix performance, I'm like,
oh, yeah.
who do you give it to over multiple games? We're going to have to find out exactly who is going to be. A lot of fun performances across. It could be Sync, it could be Juicy. It is going to be Sync. I mean, he was monstrous on this Kha'Zix.
Yeah, Kha'Zix 2 games in a row, you can see is just a really, really solid all-out performance on the side of Sync, and just shows that sometimes, even though there are meta picks at the moment that a lot of people do pick, if you do get a comfort pick for yourself, something that you're comfortable with playing, you can still run away with the game. And Sync, you can see how comfortable he was on this Kha'Zix in the end, getting the resets, jumping around, especially in that second game as well, doing so much damage on the Kha'Zix. And I think even though I wanted Juicy to get the MVP, and I feel really, really sad for Juicy that he didn't get the MVP, I think Sync is a deserved MVP winner this game.
The lower side of that upper bracket has so many good junglers. We have SE7, we have Vex, we now have Sync, who we've seen from as well. I mean, just such a good performance on that Kha'Zix. I believe we'll be hearing from one of our winning teams with Carmeline in just a couple of minutes. We'll find out exactly who we will be talking to. I hope it's going to be Sync. We'll see exactly. When you pick the Kha'Zix like that, it's such a tricky moment to kind of follow through on that and be able to actually pick up the win. Like, getting your priority pick in red side with such contested meta picks is really difficult. And I'm really impressed with seeing how Sync played it out. We do have an interview to go to. It's going to be with the manager of Team Dark, with Carmeline.
Hello. So I'm back here. Back after these amazing games, and we're going to interview the manager for Team Dark. Welcome, Unique Mario.
I'm the AD carry player for Team Dark, and yeah. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I was thinking Unique Mario. There's another Mario in the team.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And well, I wanted to ask you quite a few things. I gotta say, I proposed you to be the MVP, so. But yeah, my first question is basically, what did you expect from this series? Did you expect it to be so close? Because at times it did really seem like Control was about to win, but then you took over and, well, you won.
To be honest, our team, we didn't really prepare so much for this tournament because we had it like really much fun in this tournament. The Amumu pick was just like a random pick. We weren't like preparing to pick Amumu, even like Sona for support. But like our team was like, wait, that works. Okay, and that's the thing like we chose, because like they were just like in the start and they were like, it works. And
so, do you think we can't expect more picks like this one in the next games?
Maybe. I mean, like, there is a chance, but maybe not that much, because like we have maybe like against FMG after, which would be like really a tough opponent.
And of course, there's a question to be asked about next week, or the next one. Basically, it's, what do you think about your matchup versus Formulation Gaming? Have you watched the games yet? What do you think about them? Do you think you can beat them 2-0 like today?
To be honest, we had like really many matches against them, and I was in the same team with their mid laner, and then like we know them pretty well, but they kind of know us really well because they have like 3 Chinese players in the team, and we do the same. We have 5 Chinese. And like we usually like we do like more conversations with them, and then like I think that we know each other really well.
Okay, so it'd be the duel of the fates. So thank you very much for joining us, Mario, AD carry for Team Dark. Thank you again. Good luck for next week.
Thank you.
And see you. Ta-ta.
Thank you.
Apologies, Mario. Someone along the line trolled us. I got trolled. Carmeline got trolled. Turns out Amumu support, not a troll pick as such, but not planned either. So, we spend like the entire broadcast being like, oh my God, Team Dark filled up these amazing picks. It's all good. It's all good. That's going to be a very fun game. Team Dark against Formulation. You talk about how they know each other. Like we just heard from Mario in the interview. These series are incredible. I'm so looking forward to RIX versus Navi as well. Like Stuart, we talked about it already. Like these series are the absolute best 8 teams that we have here.
100%. The best 8 teams. We have the 4 Titans playing off against each other as well. I'm really excited to see the Formulation Team Dark game as well, because we mentioned it, you mentioned it as well very, very briefly. There seems to be a few unique champions that both these teams like to pick, even though Don didn't say that it was planned. Mario said it's not planned. Are they trying to hide something? Are they trying to mess with our brains at the moment? I'm not really too sure what's happening.
I'm sure we'll figure out as we see more games. We're going to bring Carmeline back in for wrapping up the show. Carmeline, this is the first broadcast day for you here on WREC. What's been your favorite thing about today's games?
That it's over, I guess.
That is over. I want more games. Bring more games. We had 2 overs across the board.
I was expecting for a third game to be taking place at some point, and it didn't. So, I'm glad we're getting all a chance to see maybe a 3-game series, please.
I hope so. I feel like next week we have to. One of our games ended 2-0. I think next week our games are so close with the likes of Game Lord and Queso that I hope when we eventually see that game, we are going to have a 3-game series. And when we look at what games we've got coming up next week, there are some great series, starting off with Weigers versus Principality. I think that's going to be a great one. And then ending with Mood versus Control. I think that has to be a series that we look at, right, Stuart?
100% Mood versus Control. We saw them both today. Felt like Control felt like they are a stronger team overall, but Mood Gaming as well, we can't cancel them out as well. But I think every single one of these games are so close, especially in a situation where they all kind of got defeated 2-0. It's kind of hard to really predict who's really going to come out on top, because we haven't really seen much from these teams. But I'm really excited to get into next week. We get into the lower brackets, and for all these teams, it's their last chance, because if they lose that series, that's it. They're out of the tournament. They have to come back to last chance qualifier.
Yeah, it's basically that one shot left for them. There's a double elimination format, gives us a lot of safety nets underneath. If there's one thing I'm going to take away from today's broadcast, it's that Amumu support is a thing, but you definitely shouldn't play it in the solo queue. Please don't shot us with that. Thank you very much for joining us, Carmeline and Stuart. We will be back next week with more games for the Wild Rift EMEA Championship. Don't ruin solo queue games with Amumu support unless you know you can win. We'll catch you very shortly. We'll be back next week.